Welcome everyone to our LeapGreat Live, our LeapGreat's LinkedIn Live for today. We're joined by UiPath, and the topic is the power of automation in S/4HANA transformations. I'd like to welcome all of our guests that have joined, and we want to make this very interactive. So if you have an opportunity, post a little quick chat, tell us where you're from, and let us know that you're here, and make sure to post questions as we go, because I'm going to be curating those and talking to our guests initially with a set of questions, but want to make sure that we can involve you directly in the conversation. So I look forward to you engaging with us this morning, and feel free to just give us a shout out and tell us where you're from. I'm joined this morning by Arvind Sundaresan, who's the Vice President of Customer Success at UiPath. And you may be aware, but UiPath is the world leader in AI-powered enterprise automation, and they do a lot in the SAP ERP world. Arvind has also the pleasure, I guess, of being a SAP veteran, so he has sort of both feet, in both worlds. And I'm also joined by Bob Cummings, who started his career implementing SAP ERP and went on to a 30-year career at SAP before founding LeapGreat, which has a pretty big mandate, as Bob talks about bringing AI-powered automation to S4 transformations. And I've heard him make some pretty bold claims about dramatically reducing time, cost, and project risk. So I think this should be a lively discussion today. First off, Arvind, thanks for joining today. I know it's Diwali Eve for yourself, and a lot of our audience that are celebrating in whether it be in Singapore where you're at or in Asia. I noted earlier your extensive experience. I think from our discussion, you're one who's actually sold SAP, delivered, also had oversight on many complex SAP projects across APJ. I think you've also led teams in consulting, customer success, and even in specific industries. And I'm curious, now that you're at UiPath, taking care of the UiPath install base in APJ, alongside being a sponsor of your partnership with SAP there, I'm curious of the synergies that you see between the two worlds. And in particular, it was quite notable, the big announcement that was made, I think it was just even about a week ago at your global flagship event. I'm wondering, has anybody else in the audience heard about this partnership with UiPath and SAP? If so, let us know. But maybe I'll turn over to you, Arvind, to tell us about this partnership between SAP and UiPath.
Hey, thanks, Ross. Thanks for having me here, join you all today. Good morning, Bob. Great to see some common friends. We have been colleagues together for a long time in the world of SAP, and it's great to connect again on this live session today. So Ross, you're right. Last couple of weeks, last week, we had our global flagship event in Vegas, and we announced the partnership between SAP and UiPath. We announced a partnership last year in April, which was known as the Endorsed App Partnership. We have elevated and transitioned from there on to become a solution extension partner for SAP. This is a big thing because SAP is very selective on, with whom they partner as a solution extension software partner. There are less than 30, solution extension partners for SAP, and UiPath was chosen as one of those preferred, which is an invitation-only program from SAP. And as you might have noted, we announced this, and SAP also made announcements in the last couple of weeks. We see a lot of synergies on what customers, partners, as well as the whole ecosystem can benefit from this collaboration. Even in the past, even before this collaboration, SAP and UiPath used to coexist on many of our customers, and customers were leveraging the capabilities of UiPath and SAP in a very complementary way for how they were leveraging enterprise-wide automations within their landscape. On the back of this partnership, what we want to primarily focus on are SAP to non-SAP, automations, extending business processes from SAP across various other non-SAP platforms within the customer. We call it heterogeneous automations predominantly, and also leverage the world-class capabilities on AI-enabled intelligent document processing capabilities, which we have. We have complementary capabilities to SAP Signavio with our task mining capabilities as well, and that's something which customers can leverage on the back of this partnership, and that's primarily what we announced. What this also means is customers can engage with their SAP representative to look at how they can leverage this innovation, which is part of the SAP build process automation solution extension as part of any S4 programs or any surrounding automations around an SAP system of choice, which they might have from SAP. So it's a great excitement for us in UiPath. We've been working towards this partnership for the last 18 to 24 months, and we have been one of those very few select partners, or probably the only partner which is elevated from endorse status towards a solution extension status in such a short span of time. This solution extension also means we comply with very comprehensive and stringent SAP norms on quality of capabilities which we bring to SAP customers, the integrations which are available out of the box as part of solution extension for SAP customers as well. And that's primarily what this partnership is all about. What you're seeing now, Ross, is what we shared last week in Vegas, which is the highest level of this collaboration, in the SAP software partner ecosystem of models which SAP has.
Yeah, I can really appreciate that, Arvind, because having gone through the process as a CEO of a software company in my history that got acquired by SAP, we went through the process to get an OEM initially, which isn't to this level of solution extension of what it took. And I remember the amount of involvement from all aspects of SAP towards that, and it's a really big deal. And if I recall, with the solution extension, it basically means UiPath would be sort of on the price list for the SAP Salesforce to sell as if it's an SAP product. Is that sort of one way to think about it from the SAP side of things?
Yeah, in fact, Ross, what excites the SAP field predominantly on this, we all have been at SAP. We used to treat SAP solution extension partners as very much part of the SAP job family. And, we used to represent that as a core SAP offering to our customers as well. And that's primarily how we are getting the, excitement from SAP sellers. Now it is, Q4 for SAP, most critical quarter for SAP as well. And we are already seeing a lot of requests coming in from customers and SAP on how we take these capabilities back to the customers as well. I think Bob can probably add to this. He has seen the world of SAP Solix partnerships with the likes of OpenText in the past on how we used to take OpenText on the back of everything we used to offer on SAP for our customers across various industries. Maybe Bob, you would like to comment on that? Yeah.
Yeah, Bob, could you comment on that from the customers or partners' perspective, just given your experience with SAP?
Yeah, no, thank you, Ross, and thanks, Arvind. Great to see you again. Thanks for being with us on a holiday in India. Happy Diwali to everyone. Yeah, so this thing is a big deal. I think it's a big deal for partners, for customers, and for SAP. I've done a number of these Solex agreements in my time at SAP, and I've also done acquisitions. And I can tell you that doing an acquisition is much easier than doing a Solex at SAP, because SAP has to make a long-term decision and make this product, even though it is with an external company, they have to make it part of their portfolio and part of the suite. So there's lots and lots of things. It takes years to get these things through, as was the case also with UiPath. So it is a big deal. It's a big deal for customers as well, because then they can rely on these products integrating properly into the suite, and they can look at roadmaps going forward. So I think it's definitely a really important step, and I think a very positive step, because everybody's talking about AI-powered automation at the moment out in the industry, and people are looking for pragmatic ways to do this. And I think SAP and UiPath teaming up to bring that answer to customers is really a big deal.
In fact, just to also add to Bob, right, Ross, what we are hearing from our GSI partners, common ones, especially between us and SAP, the likes of Deloitte, PwC, they all have been working on how do they accelerate S4 transformations, leveraging UiPath, and trying to reduce the time to market for S4 implementations and delivery as well. So that's something which is what we are hearing from them. What we are hearing from customers is two things. How can they free up some of the existing SME time on existing legacy platforms and SAP so that they're able to plan for the transformation and transition from ECC towards S4? That's the way they're looking at it. Plus, what they're also looking at is any enterprise will have SAP systems, and there will be a lot of SAP, non-SAP systems as well. These could be large platform applications. There could be a lot of custom applications. The business processes extend beyond SAP ecosystem within customers. And we have seen this even in large conglomerates, which have wall-to-wall SAP. There are still business processes which cuts across non-SAP platforms as well. And with UiPath, they have an option for maximizing the value of business processes which are within SAP systems, and how do they leverage those insights across non-SAP platforms as well. That's primarily what is very exciting for customers. One thing which customers very much look forward to this as part of solution extension is there is no licensing needs from a digital access perspective, right? Because when customers transact on UiPath extension from SAP, they get access for leveraging our automation capabilities with their business processes without worrying about are they using more than what they are supposed to be consuming from an SAP business process perspective, etc. Some of those constraints goes away, and that's something SAP has simplified on the back of this collaboration, and that's a big thing which SAP customers will benefit in a big way.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. And what I'm wondering from both of you, we've talked in other sessions about the tsunami of SAP implementations coming, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands in the coming years. I'd like to shift maybe the discussion to the role initially that you see automation playing. Maybe Arvind, you can talk about that, and I'll get Bob to comment.
In fact, Ross, the way we see it, SAP has changed the deadline for when customers need to transition towards S4 a few times in the past, and that timeline for 2027 is not going to go away anytime soon. There are still thousands and thousands of customers who have yet to migrate towards S4. There are many customers who have done a technical upgrade, but the functional upgrade is still pending as well, right? So, and the capacity, even though it's huge, there are more than 2 million plus consultants who are enabled and trained on ECC and S4. The capacity of the existing consultants, freelancers, as well as what the GSIs and all the boutique SAP partners can provide, there are only X number of transformations which they can do for all the enterprise customers, right? So all the partners are currently relooking at how they can help customers towards the clean core journey, making that a reality, not something on paper, but how do they ensure they leverage fit to standard offerings from SAP rather than working on customizations based on unique requirements for each of the markets in which they operate, as well as each of the capabilities which they leverage from SAP. This has always been a dream for SAP to ensure that the ecosystem embraces the journey towards rise and grow. And it has taken off in a very big way in the last 3 to 5 years. Rise and grow programs from SAP have been a big success, but there are still many, many customers who are still in the older version of the platform. With this partnership, there are new ways to look at, how customers can approach those transformations. And we have boutique players like LeapGreat, who are reimagining the whole SAP S4 transformation journey as well. And that's something very exciting. The way I see it, Ross, it's something big, which we look forward to in the next few years.
And I know, Arvind, there's sort of a diagram that kind of helps explain this. Maybe I'll, pass it over to Bob, because I know he was involved with the collaboration, with UiPath on how to build, better together. And Bob, why don't you take us through a little bit of how you think about automation in the SAP world based on, this building better together.
Yeah, so thanks, Ross. So I think, both Arvind and I have spent a good deal of our lives on the SAP side and also on the automation side. So we at LeapGreat we live and breathe automation. That's the reason we started the company, is to to see if there's a better way to help customers to actually make their move to UiPath, to SAP S/4HANA. And we saw very early on that automation was a key to scaling that process and to make it much easier for customers. So we're both a customer as well as a partner and an enthusiastic endorser of the UiPath platform. We use it for automating many of the steps that a company needs to go through when they're going to that. But I think more important, if I look at this from the point of view from a customer, right? And when we talk to customers about automation in an SAP context, I think, there are really three misconceptions out there in the industry that I've perceived. And, Arvind, you can correct me if you see it differently. But what I've seen is that customers, when they think about automation, they think, yeah, it's cool stuff, but let me get to SAP first. Let me get live first, and then we can do all that cool stuff later, that innovative stuff. And often the misconception is that you should be live first before you can use this. We definitely, so this is on the bottom part of this picture on the left, we definitely believe that the real value of automation technologies is in the course of when you're actually doing the implementation, right at the beginning, where you can actually see the power when you're deep in the processes. You never get as deep again later when you're live as when you're actually in the design and the implementation of that. So that then the second thing I think, which is kind of a misconception, is that automation is RPA, is building bots. I don't think, long before even UiPath existed, there was RPA, there were bots. Building automation is a commodity topic for many, many years. But what is different today is really how do you manage a whole process and a whole life cycle of automation. You hear about the word agentic nowadays, where it's not just building a bot, but how would you build an army of bots that are working together with cognitive capabilities to actually assist a task or a whole range of tasks in a way. So it's really getting out of the RPA mindset into a world where automation is a very strategic part of the platform. So that's the second leg of this stool, if you like. And then up at the top, I think what we often see is that in the organizations, we see the ERP team quite separate from the automation team. We believe that there's a way to bring an overlap to those teams, which is extremely valuable. Often the languages of those two groups are different. And so we actually worked with UiPath during the early part of this year and last year to actually work on this messaging and bring this out. There's a tutorial about this. If somebody's interested, just reach out to us on how all of this works. But we believe that if you can bring the organization together, if you bring automation early in the implementation and you view automation as something much bigger and more fundamental than just RPA, it's really something big. I don't know, Arvind, if you agree with that.
Yeah, maybe I could ask Arvind to drill down on the topic there, because you just mentioned about the doing automation early in the process. And I know, Bob, in prior sessions, you've talked about early visibility of the working system. I'm wondering, maybe, Arvind, you could talk about how automation fits in with this doing things earlier.
Hey, thanks, Ross. Sorry, I was just excited with what Bob said. Exactly what we see, Bob. In customers, they need to start looking at automation right in phase zero. When I speak to large Big Four organizations, I was speaking to a gentleman here in EY. They're all busy in a lot of phase zero initiatives with customers, even when they're planning for large transformation. So they have an automation first mindset, and they're trying to embed that with customers too. In many large organizations, what we have seen is, COE is a collection of employees, right? And they're all doing their own thing. And the SAP Center of Excellence doesn't know what the Enterprise Automation Center of Excellence is doing and how they do work on the same purpose and objectives. But on the back of this, partnership, what we are educating them is there are synergies where they need to collaborate together right as they plan for any new large transformation. So the system integrators are moving towards that direction. The customers are moving towards that direction as well. And as what Bob called out, nowadays, customers as well as the implementation firms are looking at rise of A's. Automation has been added as a core component of the implementation methodologies and framework on how they can extend the platform without having to go through the customization journeys of the past, to ensure they are sticking to the clean core blueprint from SAP, so that we are able to keep it very lean and very much aligned towards the roadmap from SAP as they roll out any new capabilities from the platform, from the development teams directly as well, right? So that's something which is helping, Ross. This is a journey where everyone is learning. We went through something similar within UiPath. We call ourselves as customer zero. We went from a legacy Oracle NetSuite capabilities towards S4, and Deloitte was our partner who helped us in this journey as well. And we are very happy and proud to say that we won't say that it's 100% fit to standard. It's very much 100% fit to standard, but 94% of the capabilities meets our requirements. And we have built automations around those from day zero to look at how we don't customize any of that S4 capabilities as well, right? So we have seen this in action. We wanted to be the first customer ourselves in leveraging our platform with SAP S4, with the best minds from Deloitte helping us in that journey. And the lessons learned are something which we are taking to a lot of our customers as well. So we have seen this work. I'm hearing from Bob that he's already seeing a lot of success in this approach with many of his customers as well. So very much there are synergies. And I was speaking to PwC last week in Vegas. They have built already in the last 6 months multiple accelerators which are available out there on how customers can reduce the time to market as part of any large S4 transformations from ECC to S4. So many vendors are moving in that direction. It's just a matter of customers being aware of options which are available. Don't look at having freelancing bodies or hiring bodies. Look at business outcomes when you engage with our partners as well as with SAP, and work towards the common goals. How we can leverage this mindset of automation first.
Okay, excellent. And I do want to remind everybody that, I'm looking forward to your questions. Just please feel free to add those in the comments, because I'd like to curate those. But I've got lots of questions from my perspective that I think some of the audience may be, curious about. And in particular, I guess, Bob, Arvind brought up an interesting point about that they internally used, their own tools to with their own SAP implementation. I know that at LeapGreat you've been leveraging this, and maybe between and Arvind, you're familiar with it. Maybe you can comment on what you found in from the LeapGreat perspective.
Yeah. So no, definitely. I think so we use automation in two ways. One is to automate our own business. So there we're a customer and user of automation technology from UiPath. And what we do is we have a group of people on board who have really been doing implementations for all of their lives. We even have our one guy who's been around, who's been doing since R1 days actually implementation. And the passion of all of us is to say, all of the things that we saw over so many years of implementations, is there a way that we can actually train these new technologies to do a lot of those things? So you basically tell the automation system what it is that you want to get out of the system, and then it configures the SAP system itself and things like that. So that's where we started from. But the second way we use it, which I think is even more valuable, is in a customer context where we can help the customer very early on in a project. And maybe I can just show you an example. I'd understand if you could switch to that screen that we have over here. Yeah. So if you imagine you're on a project and you have a process that you're designing, right? So you're using Signavio here. You maybe look at this. The best time is right at the beginning. The design is when you're saying, okay, what are the steps in our process? What needs to be done next? Is to ask the question, can some of these steps be automated? That's the first question. The second question is, SAP is only a part of the real world. What I mean by that is in white collar work, there's something called the swivel chair. So when you get a screen that comes up on your on SAP and you have to give some information in it, you have to make a decision what information you need to give in there. And so sometimes you'll call somebody, you'll check another system, you'll go in the internet, you'll go do some stuff. That's often what some people call the swivel chair, where you go back and forth to get the information you need, right? So you say, surrounding each of these pieces, are there things we can grab from the swivel chair automatically automatically to do that, right? And then Arvind mentioned something interesting. You see this little word here, RISE-FA. So some of you might have never heard of that word. Some of you might have never heard of RISE-F either. It's a funny acronym which people in the SAP world use. Some of them put the W at the end, some of them put it at the beginning. So this basically just stands for workflows, reports, interfaces, conversions, enhancements, forms, and we add an A at the end, and we're hoping we can change the industry lingo to RISE-FA. Why? Because we believe that the best time to actually do automation is at the time when you're looking at real RISE-Fs. RISE-Fs are basically looking at the integration of stuff that happens left and right, and these technologies are perfect for that. You see these blue steps here where you might be looking at a human doing these steps, and then here there might be this red one where you can look at it where what we do there is we train a bot. Here's the example of a UiPath bot. Sorry, it was timed out here. You see a UiPath bot here, which has been trained to do these steps. And what you then do there, that's an example of a three-way match where the AI is watching out for some invoices to come in an email, and then it can actually go and validate those invoices and do different things, right? So that's another thing which is very interesting. And another thing which I'll just leave maybe at the end, Arvind mentioned it very briefly. He mentioned the word task mining. You have your old world and you have your new world, right? And the UiPath does something called task mining, which we also use, which is basically looking and saying, let's do a trace, basically like a recording, and we'll look at all the steps that this goes through. It basically just watches what you do. And then you can do one of your old system, you can do one of the new system. Then you can see here this little thing that says merge trace, where you can start comparing stuff or combining things. And that helps you in many ways. It helps you to document what you're doing. It helps you to discover automation possibilities. It helps you to compare an old and a new world. And so there's many, many spaces where we believe that this is massively valuable for companies to really do. But I want to just at the front, think about this in phase 0, exactly like Arvind said, because that's where the value is. If you wait till you're live, you can still get value out of automation, but I would say it's a fraction of what you could do is if you put it at the beginning of your process.
That's very interesting. Thank you for going through that, Bob. I think that sort of practical example really may fit to help people get thinking about how they do things earlier. Time has really flown here. We're actually only with a minute or so left. There was a question from the audience of will they be able to share this recording, and the answer is yes, we will. It'll be posted live shortly after that, I think within minutes of this session concluding. So feel free to check back in and share that with other people. I guess what I'd like to do in the last minute or so is maybe give you each 60 seconds to summarize a couple of key takeaways that would be important for our audience to remember here. So maybe Arvind, could you give us your 60-second takeaways?
So one thing, Ross, the way I see it, stick to clean core. If you're going through a large S4 transformation, clean core is no longer a myth, it's a reality, and challenge your SAP partner as well as SAP on how they can accelerate the time to market, leveraging the broader capabilities which they bring in with the whole ecosystem along with their solution extension partner, which is UiPath. Your partners need to bring their automation practice as well as SAP practices together from day 0, right? And as long as they do this, have a mindset to stick to what SAP S4 standard blueprint offers to a specific industry and templates, I think they should be able to get significant value from end-to-end automations across their enterprise SAP and non-SAP platforms within the organizations as well.
Great. And maybe Bob, could you just give your top takeaway, because we're a bit into overtime here. And
very excited to see this emergence of SAP and UiPath getting closer together. we see our mission is to bring the synergies out of that for our customers, bring them more value, more speed to where they need to go, get them to clean core and get them on this. We think that this is really the beginning of an era in AI powered enterprise automation, which I think is only beginning. I believe there's a lot of exciting stuff up ahead. It was extremely exciting to see what came out last week. So really looking forward to working closely with you, Arvind, and your teams. And thank you so much for your commitment and support of LeapGreat in this. We really appreciate working with you and SAP and to continuing that. Thank you.
Definitely.
I thank everybody in the audience for joining here today. We're at the end of our slotted time. I think there was at least one question that we'll try to get back directly to the person, a bit about training and certification programs that we'll do a reach out after this. But thank you once again for joining us here today. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event, which is scheduled for December 5th. And interestingly, it'll be with SAP. So we'll be able to, talk about the other half of this partnership together. So, we'll be sending out details with that in the next little bit as that's set up for December the 5th. Thank you once again for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.